interested in some funding for a real estate deal that we talked about doing together, which I haven't got the contract over for him, but we're gonna find out what it's all about, and you guys are live, and you're gonna hear the whole conversation. So, here we go.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man.
I just got a merge call here. This is my buddy Paul. Paul goes to the auction every Monday and buys shit, and we just went through the house to look at it, so I'm gonna chime in and then we'll ask some questions, okay?
Perfect.
Alright. You can be open and honest with Paul, just like you and I, except you never got in any trouble.
Gotcha.
Hey, Pat Twitter just wanna come over here. You want me to call your phone? He just called.
Can you three-way with him?
Well, he's gonna come in the car.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do it that way. All right, Chris. This is Paul. Paul, he's one of the investors, possible investor, plus he's a real estate investor for life. This is Chris, Ruben's daughter's boyfriend.
How's it going, Paul?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. So how's the guy getting his money?
Well, you got to have a 700 credit score. The higher the score, the more money we get. You're talking about my Kickstart Cash stuff, right, Jose?
Yeah. I didn't know how to tell Paul about it.
Okay.
So, and I wanted to make sure that you explain it because I don't explain that shit right.
Right. So the program works, and I've raised tons and tons of money to sell properties in Milwaukee to people across the country for the cash flow. So when you go to the bank, they either want 20% down or your firstborn, that type of stuff, and it gets complicated, especially if you can't produce tax returns or bank statements or W-2s, having a job. So my system is basically a no doc. You just have to have a good credit score, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be your credit score. And you marry that to your LLC. If you don't have an LLC, it's okay. You can start one today for $130. But if you have a seasoned LLC, we get people more money. With a higher score, we get more money. So basically, you just go through the application, and within 72 hours, we know pretty close to how much money we can raise. Do you know what?
What kind of interest rate is the guy paying?
I'm sorry?
What kind of interest rate is the guy paying?
It's 0% for 6 to 12 months on most of the cards. They're lines of credit from banks, like a business credit card. So I've trained people on using the money to go buy a rental, and it's basically unsecured. So, you go to the bank to refinance in 6 months. There's no lien on the property. You'll own it free and clear. So it's easier to refinance a property that you own than to go buy a property.
Even when you got the price of the property on credit card debt, it's easier to refinance?
It's not. It's unsecured. So the property's not tied to anything.
But isn't that credit reported to the credit bureau?
Part of it will be linked to your personal, not much of it, and the rest of it's business. So that if the business defaults on the payments, then it comes back to you personally.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Have you already gone through the process? Terrence, no. I'm not anything yet with Terrence. Oh, okay, all right. But he's got Terrence's credit score at 763. Hence the reason why this conversation is happening. Got it.
So.
Well, you said so it takes 72 hours to find out how much money you can give Terrence, and you're going to set him up, obviously, with an LLC. I'm sure he probably doesn't have one. Is that the case?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess it's going to be on hold for 72 hours.
Yeah, so here's the other, obviously there's all kinds of ways to skin that cat. If we can't raise him all the money, we get him what we can, and then he pays down that car loan, and then he walks in the bank and he's good. But I think, and he'll have some money for a downstroke. So there's a couple different ways this thing could go, and when you called me, Jose, I'm like, yeah, we could figure out how to get it done, obviously. Having the exit strategy before we go into the situation is key. So if we can...
How fast does it turn around for you to raise that money?
It usually happens within a few weeks. We go in, we do the process, and then we go and do the applications. It's pretty fast. And then the broker goes out to the different banks and raises as much money as he can, as quickly as he can. simultaneously, because obviously with the pulls, the credit pulls, it dings you. So he does it really quick, so all the banks don't see all the pulls. And I think I've raised over $5 million doing this for other people. So they know what they're doing. Obviously, take a piece of it after the funds get allocated.
So they're making their money off the card?
No, it's just a broker fee, but they know where to go to get the funds to maximize the credit. So this is kind of a funny story. I know how to do this because I did it myself, and then I didn't want to pay the broker fee, so I got someone else's credit and tried to do it, and I got like $7,000 compared to $70,000. So they know the tricks and where to go and what banks to
What's
use.
their broker fee?
10%.
Or is it a set
It's
dollar?
10% of whatever they raise. And I already told Terrence that.
Right.
I'm always upfront with everybody about all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All right, good enough. Well, I guess what has to happen is, I think if Jose wants to have you go ahead and just start the process with Terrence, so we know where we're at in 72 hours, and then kind of make a decision from there.
Yeah, we need to see his credit. I don't know if we've done that yet, Jose. If he,
No, I just have the full credit score.
yeah,
So you'll have to do a full blown one, or if you're gonna have one of your brokers pull it, they're gonna pull it anyway. There's no reason for it to pull it more than once, right?
yeah. I just figured if he went to the bank first, then we'd know for sure. But we can do it. That's fine. I just got to get him on.
I guess we gotta talk to Terrence and then go from there.
That's exactly right. That's the first step.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, if you need me to talk to him, we can get him on the phone with my guy. I already have him lined up to talk to him.
He's at work right now, so.
That's what I thought.
What's that?
That's what I figured. Steve's
Tonight or tomorrow.
That's fine. Steve's available tonight, so whenever we can get him on the phone with him, that'd be great. And then you could be on the phone too, so you can learn the process.
Okay. Why don't you text Terrence and ask him what time's good, then text me back.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
All right, Chris.
All right, bye. And good.
So what was that about, Chris?
So we have a house flip that I'm gonna be involved in. So we have to pay X amount from the seller who needs some cash, and then we're gonna flip the house to the renter, making him the owner of the house. So he went to the bank, and the bank said, you have to pay off this card note first, and then you'll qualify. Okay? So I'll walk you through the whole system. And he doesn't have $9,000 to pay off his car note. Now he has to pay off the car note because his income is so low. His debt to income's too high for the bank to give him a loan to buy the house, because he's got these car loans and motorcycle loan, right? So he has to pay down, so he has a lower DTI, debt to income. Now he makes enough money to pay for it all, but he only has partial W-2s and then some of it's cash, right? Job-wise. So he doesn't really qualify. So the program really works for people that are self-employed, that don't, if I go to the bank, they want to see my tax returns. But if I write everything off because I'm a business owner and you can, then you don't qualify. Everybody knows that. So in some instances, there's going to be people out there that need funding, but they don't make enough money on paper because they taxable money, and they have a side business, right? So this particular situation worked, and when I called this guy, he ran everything past me, and I'm like, well, I didn't even really know that I was going to put him in this system. I just thought I was going to help him get qualified through the bank and do a transaction, getting him the funding through his bank. And then when I dissected it, I said, well, I have this alternative funding system. So the way I pitched it to him was, I can get you the funding, and if we get you the full amount, right, the $80,000, then you just come and pay for it, and the house is free and clear. Then you take the house back and refinance it. A free and clear house, they'll give you 50% of the value probably today on a refinance, and his debt to income doesn't have to be as high because his payment will be less than what it would be if he had to borrow the whole 80 grand. Okay, so say we only get him $60,000. Then he takes the 9 grand, pays off the car note. Now his debt to income is good again, and then he goes to the bank and says, here's my 20% down of 80 grand. He has all that cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we just got him some funding. Maybe we didn't get him all the funding, but then he'll qualify to go to the bank and buy the house. So I'm trying to figure out the exit strategy to flip the house before we buy the house.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah. So we'll find out later because I got to get him on the phone and check his credit and see where we're at.
Cool.
Kickstart cash. Kickstart cash. Kickstart cash.
Whoa. You fix this tripod.